Welcome to Radar Radio. Today we have a good friend of ours, Kaan Tasan, who is the vocalist of Heart of a Coward, and I guess still No Consequence as well. How are you, Kaan? You good?
Hello, yeah, very good, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
And as always, we have Ash
Hello.
and Catherine.
Hello.
So, full disclosure, we're all quite good friends with Kaan, and keeping this sensible is a real challenge because we're usually pretty mean to each other because we are very good friends. Um, so we'll try and be professional. So, Kaan, we've been starting off a lot of our chats, chatting to people about how they kind of got into music.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're a vocalist. Do you want to sort of talk about the early days?
Yeah, sure. So I guess my first kind of, I don't know, start in music was obviously at school, like in a horrendous like rock band, covers band, at a pretty, I don't know, like a little country school thing, and it was very like we were the rock kids, and it was very frowned upon that like there was distortion and stuff like that. It was very like if you did music at this school, it was like playing, I don't know, the oboe or like the violin and stuff like that. So the fact that we're doing like Rage Against the Machine, Deftones, like covers and trying to scream down microphones through guitar amps and whatever we could kind of do was very frowned upon. But that was kind of, I actually started playing bass first of all, and yeah, we just couldn't find like a singer or anything like that, and I just tried it one day and it just worked out and just kind of sounded okay. Probably sounded absolutely terrible, but yeah, that's kind of how it all started.
I can actually hear it in my head from the photos I've seen of you with the curtains that you had at the time.
Yeah, classic. Yeah, I had the I don't know, but the mid to late 90s haircut of like, yeah, curtains, shitloads of gel, like slapped onto your head. Yeah, I 100% had that thing going on whilst I was at school. But yeah, that's kind of how it all started with, I guess, yeah, singing or like, I don't know, yeah, music, should I say? Um, and then I don't know, we were kind of doing like terrible local gigs, house parties, stuff like that. You know, all of that kind of stuff pre 18. Um, and then I took the leap and decided to study music at a place called ACM, which, funnily enough, I now work or used to work at. Um, and yeah, so that was like around 18. Um, and then that's actually basically, well, No Consequence all went to this music university at separate times, but we all actually got to know each other in the Weatherspoons that the school is above. So that's kind of where that all started.
What were you
Me and Harry, the
what were you learning at ACM?
I studied vocals, so it taught me how to sing properly, um, and kind of that has stayed with me ever since. Like proper technique, warming up, doing scales, you know, working on your range, all of that sort of stuff. Um, but they massively frowned upon the heavier side of music and screaming, and refused to kind of see it as a technique. The only sort of like screaming that they taught was like, you know, Skid Row, Sebastian Bach, like high power metal wailing
Yeah.
sort of thing. Not like you know, because I was just I'd argue with them, being like, you know, there's bands that have made careers of it, like Pantera, Machine Head, all of this sort of thing. Like there's obviously there's a technique there, but they just refuse to kind of take that on board.
So would you
So I
say No Consequence was kind of formed almost out of a defiance for that belief?
Oh no, God no. So like NC was a band that I guess was for I wasn't involved with the forming of the band, but it was set up in like a town just outside of Guildford, where the guys kind of had everything going, and they were gigging already and writing music and doing all that sort of thing, but they were just kind of doing their own side of stuff. Um, and then it was only really when me and Harry kind of got to know each other working at Spoons and being like, oh, you know, what's your favorite band? And it was Sixth, like both of us absolutely bumming Sixth at the time, and we were just kind of like, oh my god, like 2 vocalists would be great. And he was like, oh yeah, what do you do? And I was like, I'm a singer. And he was like, oh no, but like put 2 and 2 together. And then a couple of rehearsals down the line, and the guys, because they already had a singer, a chap called Phil Winterbottom, good old Winty, yeah. And then they just decided, yeah, let's take the leap and absolutely rip off Sixth and have a long dreadlocked screamer, a long-haired dreadlocked screamer, and then a long-haired singer, and we just absolutely try to steal their ideas and all that sort of stuff for a lot of the time. But then through the Weatherspoons, Tom, our bass player, started working there, and can't remember exactly what we clicked on, but there was so I used to work in the kitchen at Weatherspoons, and there was certain albums that you could put on that were heavy, and I can't remember exactly what they were. It's Linkin Park, Hybrid Theory, something like that. What else? Well, basically, the one that clicked with Tom was one of the ones that, strangely enough, was Digimortal by Fear Factory. They just didn't mind it. They just thought it was a pretty good album. Whereas obviously you couldn't play anything kind of too heavy or whatever. But Tom's a huge Fear Factory fan, and as soon as that came on, he was just like, "Whoa," sort of thing. And then that kind of started our friendship. And then we needed a bass player and all this sort of thing. It fills the gaps. And then through Tom, we got to know Colin, and just through drinking as well. And then he got involved with that. But I mean, that's the span of that probably goes from, I don't know what, 2007, 2008 to about 2010. But all the way between that time, I'd had various local band kind of stuff, nothing that really got outside of playing your local pub, sort of thing. And then with NC, we kind of, obviously got signed to Basic, and that kind of gave us the avenue to do 1 or 2 tours, get a bit of a taste for it. And yeah, that's kind of how that sort of developed. But then I guess if we're talking 2010, 2011, I did a brief stint with Monuments for a couple of months, about 3 or 4 months, filling in for Greg when he was just having some issues with kind of getting time off touring and stuff like that. So I did a couple of tours with those guys. Me and Nima really didn't get on at that point. We just kept on clashing and stuff. So it kind of made the tours a bit awkward. But, we're getting on now. He's an absolute dude. But yeah, I kind of did that, but it gave me the taste of kind of what touring life could actually be like as a musician. So kind of with that, I don't know, rejuvenated, I don't know, whatever, just had a bit more of a push to try and get touring. NC, I just said to Dan, I was like, look, we need to take this way more seriously and try and push a bit more. And then we wrote IO, which was what, 2000 and I don't even know.
13, I think.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, 2013. And then it all kind of started from there. We bought a van, started playing loads more shows, touring the UK a bit more, traveling to Europe every now and then.
You guys then DIY toured hard.
Yeah, totally. We were booking, we were the essence. Well, I don't know. I still think DIY as an artist, being DIY artist, is extremely important just to retain control. But yeah, we were booking our own shows. We were sleeping in the van. We were kind of doing everything ourselves. Obviously, apart from kind of the help with the label, with Barley and stuff like that at Basic. But yeah, we kind of did that for a couple of years, and then wrote Vimana in 2016, 17? No.
It was
20...
We wrote it in 2015.
14? 15? I don't know. Yeah, good. Yeah, good timeline there for you. But no, whilst that was all kind of going along, we went through one van. It blew up. It was we loved it, but it obviously died and all that sort of stuff. But I used a bit of money to invest in a better, newer van. And then a couple of our friends' bands, like the Safety Fire and stuff like that, were like, "Oh, look, we need a van. Would you be interested in driving us?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure. Just sling us 50 quid and pay for fuel," sort of thing. And they were happy to do that. And then
I bet they were. That's a great deal.
Yeah. And then I don't know, just like things kind of picked up, and there was just something in my head that just kind of clicked one day that was like, hang on, you can make money through and be on tour and play shows and all this, be at shows and still be in the scene, but make money just by driving bands around. And I was like, oh, I've been going about this all wrong. So I basically did did the van up a little bit, um, cleaned it out, and then just kind of started trying to just do more driving, like, um, and just basically started to extend my, I don't know, I guess your network of bands and stuff like that. And I don't know, within the space of about a year, I'd gone from doing, like the odd weekender here and there, just booking time off from work or whatever, to actually being like full time, like driving. Um,
Yeah, I remember actually you drove us on. Well, that's how we became friends. Is you drove us
yeah,
on my band's first UK tour. It's like 8 dates in February with Mask of Judas back in 2015, and
yeah. It was. That's kind of how it all started. Yeah,
yeah, you had the Xbox in, and we were just absolutely blown away. Because until then we were quite happy taking 2, 3 cars to shows, and obviously that just wasn't sustainable. And I remember you putting that post up, I think just after you kind of newly converted that van. And what was your
yeah.
email? It was like Jean Claude Band Van or something like that.
Yeah, no, yeah, Jean-Claude Van Van. Yeah, that was the name. Yeah, yeah, it was just something stupid, wasn't it? But yeah, that's kind of how it all started, with like getting into the touring world. And then from there, like I, was doing, friends tours, and the word kind of got out, and I had other people that I just didn't know that were kind of just contacting me and being like, look, we need a driver for this. And then I got a bit more of an insight into how like the bigger tours worked, jump on a few like support, with the support bands, and just being like, oh, what does this guy do? And who does this, who does that, and figured out the different roles. And then it was just trying to absorb as much information from this kind of, I don't know, level up of touring and gigging that I'd never really experienced before. And it was just trying to absorb as much information. But also was lucky that a lot of my friends' bands were doing these, opening support tours for like bigger bands and doing all of this sort of stuff. So it was kind of a very good way for me to kind of, I don't know, yeah, just like shadow people doing these different roles and stuff like that. And especially with NC, like I was always the organized one, always the one to like wake up, get everybody up, get in the van, all this sort of thing. So it kind of just lent itself to kind of just seeing what a tour manager does to an extent. And like I just, just was just taking on a few more responsibilities with bands when we were on tour, looking after their money, counting up, doing merch, all that sort of stuff. And it just basically built until the point where I had enough of a skill set to just like tour manage. And then I spent a good year, um, where I was just tour managing, got to go to the States, did Europe loads, like, so it was a good couple of years, maybe 4 or 5 years, where I was full time
Yeah,
within
I
touring.
recently, full disclosure, I tour manage for Kaan with Heart of a Coward, and sort of manage them. And we went to Russia in January, and we had to list every country we've been to in the last 5 years. How many? What was it? You lost count on?
I lost count at 120 different like, so it was like, when did you enter a country and when did you leave it?
Yeah, that was a
In the
bad.
last five, yeah, and that was like, I definitely missed some tours. But I was just kind of going through my Instagram, going through all of my old invoices and stuff, and being like, okay, cool, so this is that, like. But yeah, it was like 120 different entrances.
What was
Different,
funny
like.
though is after I got you to list all of that, because it said all countries you've been to in the last 5 years, but you could only enter 10.
Yeah. So just this crazy document with like 5 or 6 pages of just entries of countries, and you're like, oh, I can only enter 10. I was just like, sweet. So I've just spent like a whole night just digging through Facebook and invoices and stuff like that for no reason.
That made it
But yeah,
better.
that made it better. But I mean, through the kind of touring circuit and stuff like that, it extended my like network of people that I knew and all this sort of stuff. And funnily enough, I ended up working for Heart of a Coward. a couple of times, like I drove one of the support bands for one of their album tours, and then we did it through that. They were like, "Oh, your van's pretty cool. Like, do you want to do some festivals with us?" So we did like a little festival run over the summer, and I kind of got to know the guys there. Um, and then I think that was about the time NC released Vimana, so we were kind of still touring and doing all this sort of stuff. Um, and then yeah, I don't know, we toured for a little while, and then funnily enough, I actually bumped into Jamie at the Black Heart in London just before he was going to quit the band, and he said to me like, "Look, they're about to announce I'm quitting the band. You message Carl now, because I think you'd be great to fill the spot." And at the time, I was like, I was shocked. I was like, "What? Why are you leaving the band? You knob." I felt like basically was just a bit devastated that he was quitting. But then once that kind of settled on me, I was just like, oh yeah, fuck, I'm gonna just do that. And then it was just like it was a bit of a no brainer, and I was like, but I'm gonna have to fucking work because me and Jamie like naturally have different. It's your voice, your voice is um, it's not like a guitarist can like practice or like change tunings and stuff like that. Your voice naturally has a certain range and has a certain, not limitations, that's the wrong way to put it, but you're it's unique to you. Like you can't necessarily sound exactly like someone else. So I knew there was going to be a lot of work, especially extending like my lower range, because I have a higher voice than him naturally. Like I can sing higher, scream higher, all this sort of stuff. So, but yeah, like I kind of, as soon as he said that to me, I just messaged Carl and was like, "Yo, what's the crack?" And he was just like, "Okay, cool. Look, this is what's going out in a couple of weeks. Um, you're like, we obviously know you, like, but there's not going to be any like sneaky, you're not going to bypass anybody. If anything, you have to prove it more to us, that that you can actually do it, sort of thing." And I didn't want to do a shit job either, so it pushed me more to try and actually replicate kind of what Jamie was doing. And actually, funnily enough, our screaming technique is pretty similar. Like we both pitch, scream. He just screams lower, or and it just took me a while to kind of get my head around the way he did stuff. Um, but then, yeah, I don't know. We got to the Heart of a Coward auditions. It was about, I don't know, 6 months. 6 months of auditions. I had to do 3 live, one take vocal covers. So like a video and audio. What were the tracks? It was Hollow, Miscreation, and then something else. Can't remember. Don't know. Good story there. And then after that, they the next round, I guess, was like they gave me a 2-minute track of a new track to kind of write something over, and just the vibes of what I'd create. And then they wanted to kind of basically just write with whoever they were going to take forwards, because there was a few other people that I found out afterwards that were kind of at that stage as well. And they just wanted to go back with ideas, see how you take on the ideas and all this sort of stuff. And then that track actually turned out to be Drown in Ruin, which was pretty cool. And then after that stage was the final kind of learn the half-hour set, go in, jam, and kind of see how it goes from there. And at that point, I knew there was 3 of us left. And yeah, I just was super excited at that point. A little bit, like, obviously a little bit nervous as well. But that time then at that jam was the first time I was like, oh shit, this sounds all right. Like it was the first time it actually dawned on me that I was like, okay, this could 100% work. Because the new track, when we were writing the new song, I was like, yeah, this is good, but I wasn't really sure on what they were doing. But just when you get in that room and you can just, I don't know, feel that, it's weird, but when you kind of just, there's a vibe and there's an energy and everybody kind of just locks in, and there's like a, I don't know, you just got the right vibe to kind of what's going on. It's a strange feeling, but yeah, I kind of walked out of that going like, okay, cool, I feel pretty good about this. And then, yeah, I don't know, maybe a couple of weeks later or something like that, I was at the Crawford Arms with Druzif Stalin driving him, just before Tech Fest. Can't remember
Is
what
that
year.
the tour
Probably
that you played with them and Friend for a Foe.
Yeah, with Nathan and all of that lot, and we did,
2014.
and then and we all not the No Consequence one. Like when he came back later on,
Oh, okay.
was it 2017?
Yes.
Something like that.
Yeah,
Maybe.
that's about when I started doing stuff with you, so it's got to be about then, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. And then we were at Crawford Arms, and Steve used to manage the Crawford Arms, and they were just like, do you want to meet up? We'll have a chat, sort of thing. So we went back to one of their houses and like went through the track, and they were like, look, this is really cool. We like this, we like that, we like the fact that you could kind of pull your ideas apart and you didn't take that like personally, and you were very creative and open with kind of what you wanted. And then they said, yeah, cool, we want you in the band. We're recording in December, sort of thing. It was just like, oh shit. So like from June to December was pretty intense just to try and get this album all sorted and stuff like that. But it was cool. And then and now we're here.
What did you find was different in the sort of process of creating for Heart of a Coward in comparison to No Consequence?
So with NC, like 90% of the writing was done between me and Dan. Like we'd just sit and argue in his little studio and hash out ideas and butt heads and come out with something we both liked and all this sort of stuff. So it was very much just like two of us, but kind of what that kind of gave me like creatively was just being able, like, not being too like precious over your ideas, because coming up with an idea, tearing it apart, pulling it all over the place and trying to really get the best out of what you can deliver for a section is way better than just being like, oh, this is first take, being like, yeah, that's really good, I like that. Like that to me just doesn't really make sense. Like especially for stuff like choruses, like they always needs work, always needs to be like, oh, have you thought about this, have you thought about that, trying different timings, different phrasings. And that's kind of what Dan kind of gave me when I was writing with No Consequence. And I think with what changed with Heart of a Coward was they were completely opposite. They wrote all the music with no input from Jamie at all, just wrote the music and just gave it to him. Whereas, and then he'd just write the vocals, sort of thing, with no input from them. Whereas what I said was just like, nah, I want to get involved with the actual tracks, with the kind of ideas that you're putting forwards. And then because obviously there's a bit of a distance thing, like I'm in like Guildford area and they're in Milton Keynes. Like what we were doing was like Frankenstein vocals was kind of what we just nicknamed it. So I'd just like demo some stuff, send them the audio files, and then they just like cut and copy and like pull things and like just take different phrasing. So like it wouldn't, like, if they were just to Frankenstein up a little section, it wouldn't make any sense. But like, if there was words or whatever, but you get an idea of changing the melody to do that, and then I could re-sing it and all this sort of thing. So it was quite like a really good open like flow of like how like creating with the vocals and stuff. But musically I just dived in and was like, look, this chorus needs to be a bit more simpler, do you know what I mean? The root notes are changing too much, can you just try and like give me space, sort of thing. And that's something that they never really had as a kind of input before. They were just like, right, whatever, oh, that sounds cool, done, sort of thing. Whereas I was like, oh, now look, what about this, like there should be a stop here, and try and do like listen to this band, I think it would sound cool with this section, and all this sort of stuff, and trying to just push them a little bit. And then just before we went into the studio, just to kind of tie up everything, we did like a 2-week I don't know, like pre-production session where we rented a rehearsal room for 2 weeks, had all of the demo stations set up as well as all the equipment, and then we could like just finalize ideas and go through like the vocals and stuff like that, and just really like fine tune everything. And that gave us a real opportunity to kind of go, like just go over everything with a microscope, just make sure that we kind of had everything as good as possible to kind of get into the studio and smash it. But then also at the studio, like I'd never gone to a studio for a month, and like like recorded vocals, just vocals for 2 weeks straight, like that, and only had 14 days, and that was my time. Like when it was NC, like we'd just go to Dan's studio and it'd be like, oh, Thursday night for 3 hours sort of thing, have a, and then you do a bit of vocals, be like, oh, I don't like that, change that, like that's basically how we recorded all of the stuff with NC. Whereas this was like, right, everything needs to be done and everything needs to be finished. And like, it was with Justin Hill, he was an amazing producer, like absolutely love Justin. And obviously, as I referred to earlier, when I was younger, I bummed sixth a lot. So there's definitely a fanboy aspect when we first kind of met. But as a producer, he was great. And we kind of really got, I feel, got the kind of best out of my voice at that point. But yeah, it was the first time it's super intense doing like 8-9 hour days of just vocals. It's the first time I've ever done anything like that. And like, getting to like the last few days, and he's just going like, right, just like absolutely hammering through everything, just being like, like, yep, no, the take, do that, yep, edit, just, yep, no, harmony here, go, like all this sort of stuff. Like the pressure was kind of pretty heavy.
Yeah,
I
think it paid off. It's never easy to they were big shoes to fill, and it's never easy to step up and to fill a new vocalist and obviously frontman position, because you engage the crowd the most. I mean, do you think what was your reaction to a lot of the what was your reaction to the fans' reactions when you stepped up? Obviously, Jamie gave you that seal of approval. I remember that very well.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
obviously, and there were a lot of people who were very happy for you, and a lot of people who were very accepting. But did you feel any pressure from the fans that weren't a fan?
I mean, I don't know. I kind of put pressure. I did at 100% yes feel pressure. I probably put more pressure on myself being a fan of the band anyway. So like, like the recording. I mean, the recording process was fine. Like the songs that we wrote, I still feel are some of the best choruses and some of the best tracks like I've written to date. And the vibe that we created on the Disconnect was great. But like that kind of polarized some people because there's like Heart of a Coward fans that were open to the sound and all that sort of stuff, but then they were like Heart of a Coward fans, but they were Jamie Graham fans and they liked Heart of a Coward because of him, which is totally understandable. He's an incredible vocalist. Like, so there was a bit of a kickback from them, and I think it was until it was that sort of stuff was floating around on the internet. Like I stayed well away from the YouTube comments just because there's just no, I'm just not going to bother wasting my time on that sort of thing. But like I think and also I was like, look, I was saying to the guys, like, should we do like a vocal playthrough? Like, should we, like I've done for the auditions, I can just do for the tracks, and they can see how I deliver. I was like, like I was delivering Jamie's style of vocal, and the guys are like, no, don't do it. Just sit on your hands. It'll be fine. Wait till we play the shows. And that first run of shows was probably the most, or that first London show, sold out comeback show, Boston Music Rooms or whatever, couple of hundred people. I was absolutely shitting myself, like at the side of stage, just like absolutely crapping it, like doing like a headline set, an hour headline set of like completely new stuff. Like, yeah, I was very, very nervous. But then, it's kind of like I've been in bands long enough, I've performed long enough. Like as soon as I was shitting myself in the wings, but then as soon as that intro goes, you get on stage, that first scream or whatever, it's just like bang, like go for it. And then I don't know, the nerves kind of just went from there because it gave people a chance to see that I wasn't butchering the old stuff. Like it kind of gave them a chance to kind of see that I can actually do the old stuff. And then ever since then, it's just settled more and more. And the more we tour, the easier, not the easier, that's the wrong way to put it, but the more we as a unit like get closer and the more we get on and all that sort of thing. So like, yeah, it's a very like positive place creatively and musically.
I love how because we've done a lot of shows together, you and I, and pretty much every show you'll get someone come up to you afterwards and go, yeah, man, I wasn't too sure about you, but yeah, you really killed it. I'm really, I thought you were great. And you're like, thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, like getting weird like backhanded compliments that start off like as them being like, "Oh, you know, whatever, big shoes." But yeah, I don't know. It's fine, man. Like, people, I haven't got a problem with it. Like, as long as it's not turning people away from the band. Like it's always going to happen. Like whatever, like Ash said, like the front man is realistically who, like, people that don't know about music pay more attention to, like, and if you rub people up the wrong way, it's not like, I don't know, look at like other bands that have changed vocalists, like Periphery, North Lane, like all of that sort of thing, and like it just took a bit of time for them to just get into the role and get into the vibe, and then you look at them now and it's like two of the, I don't know, yeah, just incredible vocalists, like, so it's kind of, I feel like having the album out without really touring the Heart of a Cow stuff was probably some, if I was to go back and change it, I would have definitely preferred to get a few more tours under my belt before we went into the studio, but that's just not the way we planned it. They wanted to have a new album. They wanted to, like, clean slate, move forward sort of thing. Like, so, and that works as well. Like, I haven't got a problem with that. But I do definitely feel like, having toured it for 2 years now, I do feel I've definitely taken on a lot more of kind of, well, I just know more about the older stuff and how to kind of use my voice properly, really. That makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, having seen you in No Consequence, having going to those first shows back in 2018, and then
Yeah,
obviously Tech Fest, Radar, and on the tour, your tour last year.
yeah.
Every time I've seen you, you've, not that you were crap, but every time I've seen you, you've definitely felt felt more comfortable. Obviously, it's you look comfortable on stage, but knowing you, I can see when to the last few times I saw you, there were definitely more kind of laughs and jokes, as you'd obviously quite happily kind of fallen into the unit.
I
Yeah.
hate giving you compliments, Khan, as you know, but especially in the last year, I think you've
Yeah.
really been nailing it. Every live show. I mean, Heart of a Coward are a band where, everything's quite well thought out. The stage show is very well thought out, and especially seeing you guys after having not seen you for the whole EU tour and then came to the London show, that was really good. I mean, I know everyone was knackered at that point, but it didn't show at all last show of the tour.
Yeah. That tour was tough. That was a long old slog. But yeah, I don't know. It just feels, as a unit, we just feel way more, like, just closer and open. There's no, like, I don't know. There's just nothing. If there's an issue, we just talk about it. Like, it's just a very open kind of dynamic. That's the word I'm looking for. And yeah, like, it's kind of given us the opportunity to tour and do all this sort of stuff, and it's been positive. Like, the industry response has been great. Like, we signed to Nuclear Blast. Like, we kind of, like, we've which is a dream label for everybody. Like, getting that opportunity we just invited them to that first London show, and they loved it, and kind of being able to kind of move forwards with a huge label like that is an honor, really. So, it's kind of, yeah, like, that aspect of stuff. Like, I wasn't gonna take the the YouTube trolls or whatever too seriously, because ultimately, like, I just, I knew we had a good product, and I just can't wait to kind of get a new album recorded, and just kind of get back to touring and actually leave my house.
So what's next for Heart of a Coward then? You mentioned a new album. Is that being worked on at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, it's early days, but yeah, since the isolation lockdown, we've been throwing ideas around and just trying to, well, first of all, just trying to get hold of the equipment needed to kind of start the demoing process and start sharing everything between each other, because essentially we got back from the Monuments tour, whatever it was, the 4th or 5th of March or something like that. Put all of our gear in the lockup with all of the merch and stuff like that, and then, I don't know, like a week or two, something like that, everything kind of just closed, or they closed pubs or it was something, or everything stored at the Crawford Arms, which is like a pub as well. So there was just a major issue of getting into the venue, to get into our lockup, to get all the equipment, and just get all of our leftover tour merch stock and stuff like that. So it was a bit of a nightmare, but we kind of managed to get everything sorted now, and the guys are kind of throwing around a few ideas, just really trying to get that ball rolling so we can have just utilize this time the best, really, because it's kind of everyone's in the same boat, everyone's stuck trying to find things to do, and I think it's a perfect time for, especially for musicians, to really try and write, just get on that side of stuff, really.
How have you been spending your lockdown?
Ha. Well, I don't know. Weekdays isn't too bad because I just tried to set a bit of a routine, like trying to get up early-ish. Like, I don't know. I say early-ish, but like, I don't know, 8 o'clock, something like that. 8, 9 o'clock. Get up, have a cup of tea, all that sort of thing, and try and just get a bit of a routine. Go for a walk in the morning. Do all like the usual house chorey things that you kind of, cleaning, washing, all that sort of rubbish, and then a workout, bit of PlayStation or something like that. Because I'm not working at the moment, so it's kind of just trying to kill the time and do all these sorts of things. But I mean, it's a strange one because you find yourself, I don't know, doing things you never really thought you'd do. Like, I mean, I don't know. I cleaned the top of our boiler the other day. It's just like what? It's just like, what's that all about? Like, it's just it's nuts when you kind of think about what's going on. But also, like, I think just to try and keep a positive spin on it, still maintaining some sort of routine. Being able to do things like working out, enjoying the sun, all of that sort of thing is a good way to kind of keep your mind positive.
Yeah.
But also it's kind of given me a bit of a chance to develop some skills as well. So I've started to like program some drums, trying to get my head around how to do that, and just kind of messing around with ideas to just throw into the mix to the guys as well. And it seems to be working. Like, we're all doing like little Skype hangouts and all this sort of stuff to have a few beers, chat some shit, and throw around ideas as and when. So like, it's good. It's strange, not gonna lie, like, it is strange, but like, at least so far in the UK the weather's been good, and people haven't gone absolutely mental. I think it was actually worse before the lockdown was put in place, because like, every idiot was going and buying 1,000 rolls of toilet roll and like clearing out the supermarkets and stuff like that. At least now, if you queue for a bit just to get into a supermarket, there's going to be some food. Whereas, like, I think we went once just before the lockdown and ended up like coming back with like tin spaghetti, some soup, and like frozen broccoli or something, and that was literally all I could find. There was nothing else. Like, it was insane. But yeah, no, I mean, lockdown's been okay. Like, I just trying. Yeah.
I was just going to say, actually, so you're probably the first guest we've had since we've started this podcast series that isn't live streaming themselves gaming or singing or interacting with their fan base. Now, you clearly have fans, so I'm just curious: is there a reason for that?
No, I'm just bad at games. No, no, I don't know. There's no reason why. I mean, if people are interested in me playing FIFA, then hell yeah, I'd get on that. But no, there's no real reason why. I don't know. It's definitely something to look into. It's a huge thing right now, just to try and get, I don't know, into that market. I don't know. It's never really something I thought people would care about, but obviously they really do care.
We got that reaction. By the time this goes out, last week's podcast will be Dan Tompkins, and he was talking about how he just started filming stuff, and then people liked it, so they set funding totals on his Twitch so he could buy better gear to do better streaming. and it's now turned into this, like mega PC, multiple monitors, green screen. And he does everything from play Resident Evil with Jay from Tess to, does his vocal warm ups and stuff. And I think I was actually making this point to you and Steve yesterday, wasn't I? Where I was saying that we're in a really strange place now, where more people watch people play computer games than play computer games themselves.
Yeah, it's it's nuts. Like, I mean, the rise of Twitch and the rise of kind of this whole like live streaming, it's mad. But that's kind of, at the moment, it's the only way you're really going to get contact with your kind of, I don't know, the people the people that you're fans of and stuff like that. Like I don't know. Like, obviously, I'm a football fan, and there's no football games going on right now. But BBC or like there's basically they're doing FIFA championships where like whoever, they've done a whole competition and it's down to like the semi-finals now. And it's just basically professional footballers playing with their teams on FIFA. And I watched one of the games, and it was actually pretty good. It was actually very entertaining, and it's just kind of I mean, I think I don't know. It's weird. I'm not sure like what it is about somebody playing a computer game that's just intriguing, because it's not like you can, it's not like when you're playing, say, let's say COD with your mates and you're all on headsets or whatever, and you're like shouting, "Go over there," or "There's someone to the left, there's someone to the right," or whatever. You can't do that on Twitch. You're just shouting, or like, if they do something wrong, just like, you're an idiot. Can't do anything about it. So it's kind of like, I think that's probably where my reservation comes from, because as I mentioned, I'm not the best gamer.
It's like watching football. They can't hear you when we shout at the TV.
That's true. Very good point. But you shout loud enough, then
Jodie found me watching highlights of old Champions League finals the other day, and she walked over and she went, "You really miss football, don't you?" I felt really sorry for me.
I mean, yeah, it's just insane. This whole thing is pretty nuts. But yeah, I don't know, like the kind of evolution of entertainment to an extent, isn't it? Like, like everybody's doing these. I just watched the Foo Fighters doing, what was it, Times Like These or something like that, and it's like a BBC thing, and they've done it with a bunch of like 10 to 15 other artists, like Biffy Clyro, Dua Lipa, Ellie Goulding, some other, and they've all just basically recorded their own version of the track, and then they've clipped it all together, and it's all lovely and uplifting. And like the Biffy Clyro drummers doesn't have a drum kit, so he's playing on like a upside down skateboard on his lap, so he's like just hitting it, and it just, I don't know, it's just interesting, but just some sort of, I don't know, bullshit content to pass the time. But
I mean, we've talked about doing stuff as well, haven't we? And I think especially we started doing this podcast because we thought, let's try and use our time and do something interesting, and just the work that goes into doing recordings, like you don't really realize that from the other side. Someone has to sit there, put it all together, EQ everything. We had to get a nice video made because we want it to look good. And I'm sure there's some video editing guy somewhere at the Foo Fighters one seamlessly putting that all together. It wasn't just done on Dave Grohl's phone.
Oh no, God no, yeah, and it's not like, I mean, with a bit more insight into how it kind of works, and how there's no program out there that you can perfectly stream live audio, as in like, 3 people in different places all playing music at the same time, and they're all in time with each other. I don't know of anything like that, and obviously that would just, the way they did that Foo Fighters thing would be everyone records their personal one, and then it all gets edited and put together. But like, it's just I don't know, it's just mad that everybody's kind of looking at life through, I don't know, another screen. Usually everyone's on their phones, but now everyone's just stuck at home doing whatever they can to try and pass the time.
As someone that doesn't
watching people play computer games,
watch a huge amount of sport, I've got odd obsession with when the 3 of us are all editing documents together. I really like watching Google Docs being edited, and I can't really explain why. I wish there was a way to monetize that, because
like
there's probably a niche in Japan somewhere, but in a very different manner.
Yeah, some weird ASMR Google Docs update. Yeah, there's your YouTube niche right there. You need
Yeah,
to get on
definitely.
that for sure.
So what sort of
Yeah,
thing are
that's
you listening to in the sort of lockdown times? What sort of music have you found recently?
I mean, new albums. There's the new. I mean, if it's heavy, the Norma Jean album that came out recently, that's a absolute banger. I've been listening to. So there's a someone called Anderson Paak,
Oh yeah.
and he has a band. His backing band are called the Free Nationals, and they've obviously done his last few albums, and they're an incredible like backing band. But they've done their own album now with a bunch of guests and all that sort of thing. It's in a similar style, but that's just great, sunshine vibes, and that's something that's kind of been been on repeat for me. And yeah, I'm just kind of into anything that's sunshine vibes at the moment. What else is kind of gonna? Do you know what? I'm gonna open up my Spotify right now.
Every time I look at your Spotify, because you're always up the top of my friends thing, it just says
Yeah.
that you're listening to Kendrick Lamar every time.
yeah. I mean, yeah, that's probably right. Okay, look. So my
Or
top
Justin Timberlake.
listens are Mer de Noms, the Perfect Circle album.
Great album.
Yeah, Human Target, that is murder. My friend's band Embodiment. I just listened to their new album. That was like tech death. Shout out to Kieran. Kitchen Swagger is one of the like hip hop chill like Spotify curated playlists, which is an absolute ripper. Error by Bleed from Within, even and the Whitechapel, the Valley. It's basically what I've been listening to. They're my top listens. Yeah, I'm kind of into that
No
world
Scratch
at the moment.
I thought the Scratch would be up there.
No, yeah, no, I did. I have been listening to. I listened to that once they released it. I listened to it loads, but then I don't know, just forgot. That's going to be for tomorrow. Thanks, Joe.
No worries. I mean, 2 weeks ago, but actually for us, 2 days ago, we announced Heart of a Coward as part of our last lineup announcement for Radar. Anyone you're particularly
Yes.
looking forward to at the festival?
Has to be Dirty Loops. I've yeah. I think I've probably seen most of the other bands at some point throughout life.
Just got to explain that noise, by the way. For Catherine, the biggest selfish booking of her career was Dirty Loops because she's the biggest fan. So this festival is all for Catherine.
Perfect. Well then, why not? Yeah, utilize your power and control to book one of your favorite brands, of course. But yeah, no, Dirty Loops is an absolute mind melter. That's going to be wicked. Like, I mean, there was times when I was touring with a band that split up, Next Silver, R.I.P. And we were like out in Europe somewhere, just like listening to that first Dirty Loops album, just like I don't know, Sexy Girls, Sayonara Love, like Hit Me, all of that stuff, just like a death metal tour, listening to Dirty Loops. was just the best thing ever. So like, yeah, just a great, that band just bring back some seriously good times. And I can't wait to see them live, see how the fuck they do it. So
they're incredible.
yeah,
live,
be very interested.
Yeah. I went to Amsterdam to see them about 5 years ago, which is why I booked them. Because that was the closest they were playing to the UK, basically. And yeah, I mean, obviously I've seen a lot of bands work-wise, and so you get into the habit of being able to spot talented musicians pretty swiftly. And yes, they very much live up to their recording, which is, some bands just can't translate from studio to live, and they definitely can.
Yeah.
I think we've got we got some really good sort of party music this year, and the other band, I mean, as I always say, there's no one on the bill that I'm not looking forward to, but one of the bands I'm really looking forward to is Siamese.
Yeah.
I think they're right to have on the same lineup as Dirty Loops.
Yeah, for sure. They're another Danish band?
Yes.
Question mark? Yeah.
Siamese and Danish dirty loops are not
Swedish.
Swedish.
Yeah, I mean, I think the lineup is absolute ripper. Congrats to you for actually pulling it together, and with all of the rescheduling and stuff like that, like you still managed to absolutely smash it out of the park. And I'm very, very much looking forward to kind of just having a chance to see all those bands. Just trying to think of who's going to be standout for me. Humanity's Last Breath. Jeez, like I saw them at Euroblast a couple of years ago, and that melted my face.
It was an assault, wasn't it?
Yeah, like audio and visual though. The lighting was just an attack. Who else? Sleep Token, obviously. That's a no-brainer, really. Their new album is Sundowning.
But Haken have really come to the forefront of all of my listening since
prog.
We talked about
prog world. Yeah.
It's funny enough, actually, talking about party vibes. Quite a few Haken songs have got kind of mid-late / the random prog sections that have got guitar and things like that. And I know a lot of people think it's cheesy or gimmicky, but when you see it live, it changes your mind, because it's just kind of like they're playing to a click, but they're having fun.
Yeah.
There's a bit of give and take with the click as well, so it's just a testament to them as musicians. And they just make it look so easy.
Yeah, man. I'm just pulled the lineup now. I'm just having a little look. Oh, Conjurer, obviously, big old killer band. I'll be great to see David Maxim again. Haven't seen him in ages. Who else? Oh, Purge, obviously. Shout out to V, Tim, all of that lot. Cabal, another great band.
Yep.
Yeah, Forager. Go on, lads. Yeah, I mean, it's a stacked lineup, and the after parties look banging as well. The Scratch and Pint Glasses. Pint Glass is going to be joked. And the Scratch.
Really looking forward to
Pint Glass is going to be something else.
Yeah. I mean, so, again, you guys have done an absolute bang-up job on kind of pulling that all together. And let's just, fingers crossed, it's all...
That's it, isn't it? You'd hope with 6 months. I mean, that's the gamble we've taken. We've given ourselves 6 months to hopefully things normalise. I mean, people regularly on a daily basis ask me about what I think, and we're very fortunate that we signed up and we're part of the Association of Independent Festivals, and they are our trade union group and they lobby on our behalf. So they've been in constant contact with Parliament and relevant ministers and feeding back to us. And from that and everything we've read, I'm just not sure anyone knows what's going to happen. Let's see what happens when the lockdown finishes. Hopefully we'll have a better idea then.
Man. I mean, it's strange. It's a real strange thing, because obviously, like, they're going to start with kind of the needed services or whatever. But where does a music festival for 1,500 people or whatever kind of fall into that entertainment and stuff like that? Like,
has anyone considered what happens when every single guy runs out and goes to get a fade? That is where it's going to spread.
Yeah, totally. Like, man. Like, imagine a Barbers with social distancing. How's that going to work? Like, say if you've got a Barbers with like 10 seats in it, you're like shoulder to shoulder with a dude. You're going to have like 3 chairs between you. There'll be similar thing to Sainsbury's. There'll be a fucking queue out of the door. And all you want is a fade. Yeah. I mean, to be honest, the whole fade thing is pretty funny. There have been times when I've been sat with my girlfriend Jo, like, and we've looked at, I don't know, there's been like memes of people that have got their girlfriends to do like fades on them or whatever, and there's been times when I've almost been like, yeah, go on then, let's just do it. But also, I just don't know if it would really be worth it. Just to shave your head.
Our mate Dale, did you see his Facebook the other day where he said he'd watched 30 minutes of tutorials and he was going to try and do it himself?
Do it himself. Yeah, that's, I mean, hey, like, At least you got time for the hair to grow back, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I had a beard accident just before all this happened and had to shave my beard off, which really upset me. But I'm happy now. I haven't seen another human being for a while, and it's grown back.
Back to normal. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it's pretty mad.
So, in respects to getting back to normal life, what are your one of our questions that we've been asking our guests is about their favourite tour memories. So, are there any that you would like to divulge? And you don't have to name names, obviously, because as we all mentioned, we know you, and so we're bracing ourselves for this.
I mean, I have. I don't know if it's good memories or just funny stories. It
I think
Completely up to you.
funny tour stories.
Funny stories. Okay. I mean, I have many where I would humiliate myself, but I'm not going to choose those ones. Let me. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of some PC ones that don't involve nudity or anything like that.
No, it's
Anything
a
too bad.
podcast, not a video call, so go for it.
Yeah.
I am naked right now.
Oh, right, perfect. Well, there's this funny story about this guy I know. No, so probably one of the funniest ones, which I remind him basically every time I see him as well, is back probably 2016. I was doing some festivals with Monuments, and on the Amanuensis album cycle, and I'd actually toured with them like a load within that cycle with No Consequence, as well as kind of like driving and working for them. We did the Carnival tour. No Consequence did their headline tour with them, and then we ended up doing like a festival run of about 16 shows with like club shows and festivals and stuff. And like that, I think on that whole album cycle, the guys had done like 160, 180 shows. So they were all a bit like that's show days, not just travel days. Like, so that's 180 shows on one album cycle, which is obviously quite a lot. But they were just in a state of, I don't know, like van madness is probably the polite way for me to put it to you. And I think we were at Summer Breeze in Germany, and basically it was like glorious German summer, like amazing festival, like kind of the cliche German festival where it's beating down sun, they're spraying water over everyone, Monuments are playing the main stage, the show's mad, like they had maybe, I don't know, 10,000 plus people watching, like it was a crazy day, and backstage it was just basically free booze at this cocktail bar. And it was when Lango was drumming for Monuments. So basically, Ollie, Lango, and Swanee just basically just sat because they didn't have to do anything. They played the show, and then we went off and settled up, got all the merch, did everything like that we're meant to do, and they just stayed at the bar and just got absolutely like battered. And then it kind of got to the point we were driving back to England that night, so I think we had like maybe 5 or 6 hour drive back to Calais, and essentially we dragged like long story short, we dragged them into the van. Like we had to leave late because they'd lost stuff. Like we were searching all over this campsite, going into dressing rooms. Once they'd been turned over, there was another band in there. Like we were trying to find all this stuff, but basically we got into the van, and it's just like instant party van. Tunes are up. We're listening to like Pantera, windows down. Everything's great. Driving for about an hour, and then the tunes stop. Everyone falls asleep, which is obviously great. Swanee's up front with me in the passenger seat or whatever. And he's kind of like falling asleep. I'm just like cruising. We're just kind of getting the drive done or whatever. And then he kind of like winds the window down, and I just didn't really notice anything else. And then we kind of like, I looked at him again because he was kind of like hunching forwards or whatever, and I was just like checking he was all right. And he was basically throwing up like down out of the window, down the side of the van. Also down the inside of the van, so it had gone down all down like the actual door. And then in Mercedes Sprinters they have a handy little like bottle holder or like documents holder on the bottom of the door. So that had all just collected sick in all of the stuff that I had in there, like a chamois leather or like, you know, a window scraper and all of these like things that were there that were helpful, you know. And basically he's like vomiting and I was like, "Are you all right, Swanee?" And he basically turns around and he's kind of, his glasses are like, sunglasses are like half on his eyes, half up on his head. And he turns around, and he just looks at me with like vomit in his beard, vomit on his dreads, and goes, "Yeah," and then just basically just falls back to sleep. And it was just like, it was like the kind of fun, like it was one of the funniest things ever, but also like you're kind of annoyed with him as well. But like he was absolutely smashed. And then he slept for a while. I just left it like till we needed to fill up fuel a few hours later, and he kind of like he's still absolutely battered, like sobers, like realizes kind of what's happened, feels really bad. And then we're in like a service station in I don't know, middle of Europe, like Germany, France area, and he's like takes his shirt off and starts like rubbing the sick on the side of the van because he's obviously still battered, so he can't really make sense of how to clean it, and he's just making it worse. And I was just like, "Nah, Swanee, just leave it. Like we'll just go and like we'll just wash it off in a minute. Like just leave it. Don't worry." And it's like, "No, I got this. Like, and obviously like Swanee's just like stumbling around, no shoes on, shorts, taking his shirt off, like just wiping the van down with his t-shirt. And it was just an absolute state. And then the worst part was like, obviously he fell asleep. We finished the drive, had to get to the Eurotunnel crossing, so we had to go to the border crossing, and all of the like passport control is on the passenger side. So like they could clearly see that there was vomit all the way down the side of the van. And yeah, we had to do our passport change and all, you know, check the passports and all that sort of stuff. And it was only until we got into the actual Channel Tunnel services or whatever on the French side that I actually got like properly cleaned the actual van properly. But yeah, that was a very funny but also slightly painful moment. Or like 5 hours, but yeah.
Which way
Great
did it
little
go?
story.
Did they give you extra scrutiny, or did they just want to get you through as quickly
Oh
as
no,
possible?
extra scrutiny for sure. Like, you know, like they're hot on their stereotypes when it comes to border crossings, and you know, like if they first of all see sick going down the side of a van, they're probably going to be like, all right, fair enough. But then if they see a hungover dread man, like handing over passports, being like, "Where have you been?" "Oh, I played festival in Germany," sort of thing. They're just like, "Right, pull over, get out of the van." And they just go, yeah. So yeah, it was yeah, a funny but painful few hours, that drive for sure.
Well, that seems like a very positive place to leave this podcast today.
All right, fantastic.
Thank you, Kaan, for being our
Yeah,
guest
no worries.
today. Thanks for the
All
funny
good.
story. I'm still brushing tears from my eyes. Goodbye from me. Goodbye from Catherine.
Goodbye.
Goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.